take a journey through forests, farms, and fantasy lands, where every animal comes to play, and each one has a sound to say. Are you ready? Let's go! Here comes the lion, running so fast. Roar, 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 the lion says roar. Here comes the duck, waddling along. Quack, 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 the duck says quack. Here comes the elephant, stomping so loud. Trumpet, 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 the elephant says trumpet. Here comes the kangaroo, bouncing up high. Boing, 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 the kangaroo says boing. Here comes the bear, lumbering slow. Growl, 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 the bear says growl. Here comes the fox, sneaking with flair. Yip, 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 the fox says yip. Here comes the parrot, flying so bright. Squawk, 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 the parrot says squawk. Here comes the snake, slithering near. Hiss, 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 the snake says hiss. Here comes the cow, chewing so slow. Moo, 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 the cow says moo. Here comes the dog, wagging its tail. Woof, 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 the dog says woof. Here comes the cat, purring with cheer. Meow, 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 the cat says meow. Here comes the rabbit, hopping so quick. Thump, 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 the rabbit says thump. Here comes the horse, galloping free. Neigh, 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 the horse says neigh. Here comes the tiger, fierce and grand. Grr, 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 the tiger says grr. Here comes the owl, hooting at night. Hoot, 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 the owl says hoot. Here comes the rooster, greeting the dawn. Cock-a-doodle-doo, the rooster sings its song. Here comes the giraffe, standing so tall. Hum, 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 the giraffe says hum. Here comes the pig, rolling in mud. Oink, 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 the pig says oink. Here comes the dragon, flying up high. Roar, 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 the dragon says fire. Here comes Pikachu, sparking with light. Pika, 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 Pikachu says pika. Here comes the unicorn, magical and bright. Clip, clop, clip, the unicorn says clip. And that's the end of our animal song. From jungles to farms and dreams beyond, each animal has its sound and cheer. Thanks for singing, we'll see you again soon. Bye bye little friends, let's clap and cheer.